brilliant family it is. I think this is the ideal family which Professor J.R.S. has been bestowed with God. And God has given him a long life for 82 years, and at the right time, perhaps. Only thing I also felt that it would have been better a little later if God has taken him after he has seen Anirudh's marriage also. That's the only thing that, so I thought that is the time that has come and God has taken him. We will never forget him. Nobody can forget J.R.S. Whoever come in touch with him, nobody can forget J.R.S. He's such a smiling man. But I do not know. So Taniyachalam said he's short-tempered. Maybe. I do not know all that because as far as I am concerned, I have never seen him losing his balance. Maybe that I was not treating him. That is why. So, whatever it is, I am very, and all that I can say, and I will remember J.R.S. round as a ring that has no end. So is my love and devotion to my Guru and well-wisher, mentor, Professor J.R.Sankaran, and their family also. Anything in the family, any function, anything, even if they are going to take a cloth, JSR may ask me, can I take this suit, sir, like that. So such a lovable children he has left, and I am very thankful to God that that family is very close to my family. Before I started, my wife was also so close to Mrs. Sankaran. She couldn't come for some other reason. She said, please tell that sometime I would like to meet her. Yes, I would. So I thankful again to the family of J.R.S. for giving me an opportunity. We can never forget Professor J.R.Sankaran. This J.R.S. will always remain in our heart. And may his soul rest in peace, like what my good friend Rotarian, and I am also Rotarian, Palniappan said, Lord Shiva's Kailasham, he will be there. Definitely. There is no doubt at all. He will be there watching all of us, and he will never die. He will never go from our hearts. Long live J.R.'s name. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon Rajeshri Gautam Das, Dr. J.R.'s only daughter.
Good evening, everybody. It is with a heavy heart that I stand before you. I wish this had been in happy circumstances, but we are here to celebrate Appa's life, and I was asked to say a few words about Dad's spirituality. Not many people know that Daddy was deeply spiritual. Spiritual meaning not going to temples, etc. Though Mommy would tell, Yenga, summa thana irkeenga, summa apdi koil poi vandutu enna, she would tell him sometimes. Now, his life itself was spirituality. What is spirituality? The essence of spirituality is helping others. He knew no other religion. Everybody who has spoken before has emphasized that, but I would again repeat and reiterate that his life was the very essence of spirituality, helping others. Ever since I was a baby, whoever came to him for any help, regardless of the time, between early morning or midnight, any time, nobody went away empty-handed. He wasn't a rich man, but he was extremely wealthy. He was one of the wealthiest people in the world as far as his heart and giving was concerned. Whoever came to him, immediately he would have a wide network of people. Immediately he would put them on to the right person and get that person's need, met. That is the most important thing, what spirituality means. And the only thing he was deeply attracted to as far as temples were concerned is Mel Marvatur, and that too, more than 3 decades. That too, why? Because the sense of Mel Marvatur and His Holiness Bangaradigal was, service. Service. He knew nothing else but service. He would go, put on his red shirt, he wouldn't even go into the temple. He would just go straight to the hospital and see all the patients there. I remember one VC of the engineering college, he had come to talk and he said, anybody who wants to see Dr. JRS can come immediately to Male Marvatur. He'll be sitting on a stool. He wouldn't care. He didn't want his chair. He didn't want an AC. No. You just give him a stool. You give him his BP apparatus, the step, and he would see any patient who came there. And he said, our clinic pona 3 மணி நேரம் காத்திருக்கணும், இங்க வந்தா you can just see him and go. So that was the kind of, the kind of goodwill he projected. Like, and even as children, all of us, many days we would not see him for days together, because before we woke up in the morning he would go away for practice and come back after we slept. But we never really missed it, because we always were made to understand. We could see it. Nobody needed to tell us that Dad was doing a very important work. He was doing something very important. He was saving lives. He was taking care of ill people. He was curing sickness. He was making people happy. So we just didn't bother whether we didn't take holidays together with him. My mom was there always, more than a father. She compensated for him also. It was her great talent. And we would all go off to Kerala and wherever with mummy. But we knew very well, we have never till day regretted that he didn't take us for a holiday, because we knew he was helping people. And that is his religion. Like they said for Abu bin Adam, oh, I don't love God, I don't know, but God loved him the most, because he cared for each and every person. He doesn't care whether the person was rich or poor, no money, nothing. I know many people, as I grew up, wherever I go, people would tell me, oh, I went to so many doctors, I was so sick, and I came to him and he diagnosed and cured me. He was like a God himself in that way, which is why that was his spirituality and that was his religion, and we are all proud to be part of that. Thank you.
2 or 3 more speakers. I now call upon Mr. T.S. Das, nephew of Dr. J.R.S. Please go.
Good evening, everybody. I am one of the you very closely associated with Dr. Sankaran. I mean, my memories goes back to the marriage where it was in late 60s when I was in the school. The marriage took place in Chennai. I mean, that is Madras. We all have to travel down by road, and we reached here, and I fell sick. And I was the first patient for the bridegroom mother. So he had such a healing touch, and as just now Raji has mentioned about the help, he had a passion to help people. I mean, I was one of the people who have been blessed very much by him, because today I'm an engineer only because of him. He made sure that I get admission to the college. Same thing happened to my brother. He became a doctor. The admission, everything is organized by him. A man who can be approached anytime, and as she has rightly said, helping people he used to enjoy. He never used to think it as a burden or any time of the day. In our family, he is a tower of strength, because any problem comes, first thing to go to Changaranjatappa. And for him, it's a medical, it's a personal, any problem, he is there to help you. And whatever manner, in some problems, if suppose you don't have anybody to, the person may not be knowing him, but then he will make sure somehow or other to go out of way and help the person. That is the nature of him. And we really miss him, and it's a big vacuum which cannot be, and I am sure he is there to bless all of us, and may his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Our last speaker for today is Dr. J.S. Rajkumar.
I just have a small slide presentation about Appa. I want to start by thanking everyone who's been so wonderful in the encomiums of praise, and believe me, to hear people like Professor Vittal and Professor Tanikathan and Justice Rajendran speak about him, Appa will be very, very happy. I also want to say that we really mean this as a family, that we, as my sister rightly said, this meeting is not about mourning, it's to celebrate a really good man's life. And I also want to say that every single person who's come into this room and who's going out will go with Appa's blessings, and you will see it, you will understand it in the next 5 minutes of my slide presentation. About 50 years ago, when my father was 17, his father died. And his father, like my own father, was so popular with the students that a gentleman told me this about 10 years ago. He was then 80 plus, he's now 90 plus. And this gentleman said, even when my own father died, I didn't hug him and roll. But when your grandfather died, I was having a bath, I left that, ran and hugged him and rolled with his corpse on the floor. You might think it's a story, but it's true. The gentleman is then 80, he's now 90, and he's sitting in the first row here. Dr. Kadri sir, we just want to thank you from my family for what you mean for several generations. And he has continued his friendship over the last 67, 60 years or 65 years. He's been close to my father as well, and mashallah, he continues to be very well. I'd like to quickly run through Daddy's life by starting. Everybody knows about the medical side of Appa. I'm not even here to talk about the family side, but just some things that I believe that I have learned in his life. As a very famous educationist called H.G. Balakrishna Joshi, he was likened to Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, Lal Bahadur Shastri, very, very great educationist. He was the head of Hindu Theosophical High School, and he recognized Appa, and this is the first gold medal that my father had in 1948. This is a gentleman. He said, this boy is a real gentleman. And I don't know whether this is the impact that teachers have on us. Perhaps because H.G. Balakrishna Joshi told him that right until 12th October 2014 when he passed away, JRS was the perfect gentleman. This was given for the way he conducted himself towards others, and we have learned how to conduct ourselves with the whole world. It's a beautiful Tirukkural, Appa Ramapuricha used to enjoy Valdavam. And the beautiful one that starts by saying, Kaimar Venda Mari Mattu. The clouds, anybody living in Chennai in the last few days, you'll understand how the clouds pour the rain. The clouds, Thiruvalluvar says, give the rains to the parched soil without expecting anything in return. And so also will a good man of the earth do unto his fellow beings without expecting anything at all in return. And I really think that's one thing that Appa did. I even mentioned recently at one of the meetings in Madras Medical College that he went out of the way to be extremely kind to Professor Thanikasan was saying he has seen him struggling in the so-called quagmire of medical service. My brother and I early on saw all this quagmire of medical service and decided that we would have nothing, there are a lot of people who were in service, nothing to do with medical service because of the trouble that Appa went through. And yet he went out of the way to be especially nice to the daughter, the son, etc., of even people who were particularly nasty to him. And I've learned that from him, and he's been like the clouds. One of my favorite poets is Ajmer Shishti, Shishti Saab or Khwaja Saab, and he says, every man should learn from the river, how the river keeps giving to the soil as it moves, and finally, having a little bit more water with itself, gives even back to the ocean. And I felt Appa doing that right through in every aspect of his life. In his mind, one of the biggest that he ever made, awards that he ever made, he had 20, was the Eminent Medical Teacher Award. Many people, somebody was telling me that people get happy I'd posted, and 19,000 people had seen it, and a few thousand had liked it. And that's the kind of impact. There's a change, and we have to speak in terms of technological scales, and that's the kind of impact that Appa made. I also think that the Lifetime Achievement Award as a clinician, which Appa got, as many people said here, he was the ultimate compassionate clinician, and you will not believe, even until a month or two ago, when he used to send patients to me to operate, he used to write there, this patient can't afford no fancy instruments, and he used to put one exclamation mark. We surgeons, we'll put staplers, this, that. He was thinking in terms of the common average man, and that's the kind of doctors that we don't have these days, unfortunately. And this is another thing, my father really believed in research. When due to politics in medical service, he got shunted to Central Research Cell. He made use of it and brought out a large number of papers, and he really believed in research. Even recently, I actually brought something even for the services in my bag. It is the last, it's okay. every time I told him, we did some wonderful service, we took out so much of the kidney and the stomach and this and that, my father would say, you first publish it and then come back to me. Don't talk to me. He really believed in publication, and he wanted this to spread among the youngsters in India. Actually, this is the last publication that we made in this journal, so it's a journal of endocrine surgery. And I got this and came to show it to him, but he had breathed his last by then. I used to hear Appa saying this. He used to ring me and say, hey, my paiyan vice chancellor aita. I would not know who is the vice chancellor because everybody is his paiyan. Vice chancellor. A few years later, he rang me a few months ago and said, my paiyan vice chancellor aita. Who is this? Shantara. I mean, both of them were supposed to speak today, both the vice chancellors, but both of them got held up and they couldn't make it. Similarly, some had gone to some wedding, and as I was going, he pulled my hand back and said, it was actually Sirgari Sivachidambaram, Sirgari's son. He's a number paiyan because he was a student too. So some other program he rang me and said, "Namma ponnu nalla pulla is for the girls." He used to use. He said, "Namma pulla nalla anchor panna." Then I found that Dr. Sudha Seshan was anchoring some Tamil Nadu MGR Medical University program. He's a man who believed that every student of his was Namma paiyan, Namma pilla. So I used to tell him, "Enda paiyan pa, enda pilla pa." That's kind of impact which people did for him. As I mentioned, he also very, very strongly believed in research, and he used to drive us on right to his last day. He used to, only thing that brought a smile on his face, not some wonderful operation that I wrote and it'll come out in some newspaper, he wouldn't bother. But if I got a journal publication, even one small publication, he would really be enjoined by that. And Dr. Kumaraswamy here knows how much he did. They say, a good teacher makes you talk, but a great teacher makes you walk the talk. And I found, for example, that when I posted on Facebook, I had people writing to me from virtually every country saying he'd been such a huge inspiration. Many people make records, so many surgeries, so many things. Daddy's major record that he gave in Madras Medical College is that he gave the record pass mark. Those days, especially in medicine, only 42% used to be the pass. Sir, I'm sure all of you know this. One day, one particular person who I also rang up and invited for this meeting, he was supposed to be the examiner and he was notorious for giving 30 to 40%. He was stabbed by his driver and he could not he could not be the examiner. There was a big party in the MMC hostel because my father was nominated as examiner and he gave a record 96%. And after that, all the guys got together, used influence from the HM level, from the CM level, and made sure he was examined every time because he was just passing people left, right. And I used to ask him, Daddy, I heard this, that you passed many people. I was a kid, and he said, Pavanda, the person who pass panite, they have to go and sit down and work day in it. He had that kind of a very wide, global kind of feeling for people. These days, every man bothers only about I, me, and mine. And my father, in this world, he had a big feeling, let everybody pass, let everyone get good jobs, let everyone go on and come up in life. And that, I think, is a very sustaining legacy of his. Dr. Kumaraswamy mentioned, I remember 1993, my mother and father had a big argument. My mother saying, AIDS and I had just come back from UK, and my father was explaining patiently to my mother, Setu, you listen to me, nothing will happen. And I remember a few years after that, my father to the breakfast table brought a cutting of Princess Diana to show that HIV doesn't spread by contact. She had kissed some HIV positive people in the cheek. So she brought it. Typical mother's response. She was worried that this terrible disease called AIDS, people thought people just died like flies, and here was her son, apple of her eye, and father was her husband saying, go and operate. He was the man who taught me, like Dr. Kumaraswamy said, how you can touch these people, you can look after them. And I will tell you two miracles have happened in the last week. I'll tell you about that. There is no continuing medical education program anywhere without Appa teaching. He used to actually tell people, he used to actually mimic the murmurs, make sounds and say, I used to ask him, why is